We're back with the second race on our calendar year for Formula One, and we're racing on the fastest street track in the world. Now, there is another replacement coming for it, even though I'd love to see both these tracks, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of what the track in Saudi Arabia is going to look like in 2027. The track that's not really going to be a street track, but a man-made one, which looks ridiculous. It looks like something straight out of Mario Kart. And the lighting, this whole entire video that they've made, this rendered video, is just a beauty. So you gotta look at it with this high elevation, saying that the turn one is going to be practically like Coda. But the rest of the track map actually looks interesting as well. This is going to be such an awesome track, I think, for racing. How wide the roads are, and overall the track layout is great. But the track we're speaking about today is still the one existing in Saudi Arabia and will be till 2027. I think it's supposed to be our first race next year. It is the Jeddah Grand Prix. This Grand Prix has consisted from 2021 to 2023, and now 2024. 21, we had a beautiful battle with Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. I think beautiful isn't the right word. It was quite scrappy. And I think this is the first time we saw drivers literally go to the limit of their temperature while driving, because Lewis was pissed, so was Max. Rightfully so, they were fighting for a championship. Times were tense. We almost saw that beauty of a lap from Max. Yes, it wasn't finished. I still think it's one of the most exhilarating laps to watch. While watching it, you feel like you're about to get out of your seat literally every corner he gets to. Quite a thrill. And that 2021 track definitely provided with crashes and a crazy race. It gave us pretty much everything a Formula One fan wants. Now in 22, how does it get any better? It almost seemed like it did, with Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen fighting, playing that DRS chicken, going into turns one and the last corner. Who's going to grab the DRS? It was such a beautiful sight to watch these race car drivers perform at the highest level, at the highest potential with their cars. It was great. Now 23 wasn't as exciting, but it gave us something that I think is very exciting. I think is something that we'll all remember. It was Fernando Alonso actually leading some laps, which was pretty insane that he actually led 3 laps of that race. That was a very fun moment in the 2023 season. Will Fernando Alonso be leading this year? I don't think so, but let's talk about the track and let's get more into it. The actual compounds we're going to be seeing here, it's not C1 to 3, it'll be C2, C3, C4. And overall, this track isn't really known for tire degradation. It's a pretty chill track on that type of pace. It's mainly full throttle. You don't have to lift and coast into certain areas to save your tires. And the track has been resurfaced. It's very smooth. Nothing similar at all to Bahrain. We're going to see a different layout of cars here. And the front and the rear wings are going to be laid out differently to help on a track with a lot more top speed. As I said, this track, you have to be full throttle for most of it, sometimes consisting for literally 75 to 80% you're on the throttle here on this track. Last year, off of pace alone, we saw that it was pretty close between Aston and Red Bull. They were still a good ways away, but everybody else went with the same strategy. It was the medium and the hard strategy. So everybody's going to be running the C2 and C3 tire here. That's what you can probably remember for. And the pace should be pretty consistent because, as I said, tire degradation isn't such a huge thing here. It's mainly about how consistent you are on the pace. If we compare top speeds from 22 to 23, we can see that Red Bull kind of increased. McLaren, Mercedes, and Aston Martin were all kind of in that lower end of the top speeds. Williams was pretty high here, so was Ferrari and Haas. And top speed will be very important here. It's one of those tracks that you really need to have top speed to overtake. Will the McLaren car perform better here? They might, but the top speed is something that I'm worried about because the car is still pretty draggy. Overall, we do see a lot of crashes here in Jeddah. It's a pretty scary track, and it's been called for multiple times to actually fix parts of the track, and they have tightened certain corners to help out with this. We didn't see too many major incidents in 2023. In 22, we saw that crazy Schumacher incident where he hit the wall and pretty much broke the whole entire car, costing up to $1 million in damage. And overall, the Gs were pretty horrific in that crash. We saw it also in 21 in qualifying, and we also saw with Leclerc hitting the wall there too. It is a pretty scary track. That's what makes it a Formula One track, though. I do think it's a super entertaining one through the whole entire race pretty much because drivers have to be fully committed. So let's get into the track rundown. Going into turns 1 and 2 will be pretty much the slowest parts of the track, but these are the overtaking zones. We saw Lewis and Max Verstappen dive into each other pretty much every single time they were close here. In turn 1, it was Max usually doing it, but Max was going for it, Lewis was going for it, entertaining, but definitely getting past the track limits here. Turn 1 and 2 will be your main overtaking zone. And then we go into what I think is the best part of the track. It's from pretty much turn 3 all the way down to turn 13. This is where the track really comes alive. The fastest speeds, these are all pretty much high to medium speed corners. You need the downforce. That's why cars don't go full out on low downforce here, even though the rest of the track is pretty much high speed to top speed. But here, you got to be very, very cautious with your throttle, the inputs, and the way you make your turns. But it provides some beautiful looking camera angles on this beautiful track. We're going to see a lot of cars benefit here from Bahrain because it is high to medium speed. Bahrain is mainly slow speed, so a completely different track to what we were just on. We'll have to see where these cars' strengths lie now with the new track coming to us. The second and third sector for this lap, as I said, it's pretty much full out. Yes, you got to be a little cautious on the throttle going into turns 16 and 18. These are pretty tricky turns to get right, and a lot of qualifying time can be found there. And another pretty crazy part about this track is going into turns 21 and 22. It is very important that you nail this part of it. And last year, there was an issue with track limits. You weren't able to actually go over the curbing. A lot of drivers got hit with that track limits. Notably, Logan Sargent got hit with that at the very end of his lap, even though it was a faster lap than Alex Albon and would have been his only fastest lap of the year last year on Alex. Providing a lot of high-speed corners and top speed makes for a very interesting track, and if your car is good enough to keep up through turns 1 and 12, you can stay within that DRS range, especially now after a lap, it being DRS, to actually kind of compete with the Red Bulls. I think we're going to see a much closer competition here, and in my predictions, you'll see where I go and where my thought process is with the teams. I listened to you guys, I wanted to give a little bit more history, the crashes, what's happened, the overtakes, so on. And in the predictions, I'm going to make them quick. I'm going to do my top 5 drivers, top 3 best teams, top 3 worst teams, so we have a good understanding of which teams will be better here and which teams will be worse. I'm going to be going off of what we know from Bahrain and testing what the cars are going to have here that's going to actually help them perform here. So for my top 5, I'm going to run through this pretty quickly. Let's start from number 1. I'm going to say Max Verstappen is going to win. I think he's been pretty unlucky with 23 because I think he would have won that race. 22, he was actually lucky to be fortunate from the safety car. I still think the car is a little bit more benefit to him, so I'm going to put Max Verstappen at number 1. Number 2, I'm going to put Charles Leclerc. It's going to be a much closer race. I expect this to be somewhere within the 15-second mark, but I do think at some points they will be competing due to safety cars. Maybe Charles gets ahead for a lap or two. We'll have to see. I do think he'll be much closer. At number 3, I got Perez. Perez is great at street tracks. I think it's going to be very competitive between the 3 of them. I do think Leclerc will top him. Number 4, I got Carlos Sainz. Ferrari and Red Bull are going to be, I think, the 2 top teams here. And at number 5, I'm going to put Lewis Hamilton. I think the Mercedes car will perform better because of the cooling, but overall, it's going to be a battle of who's the least draggiest car here when it comes from Mercedes, Aston Martin, and McLaren. Now, Aston is still a good ways away unless they found something really good in their setup, and some parts are coming here. I do expect Mercedes and McLaren to have the top end on the Aston Martin car. For the 3 best teams, pretty much goes with the drivers as well. Red Bull is obviously going to be a top contender here. I do think we're going to see a good performance from Ferrari, and I think Mercedes will be the 3rd best team here. I think these 3 cars in the top 3 teams are going to perform best, mainly because I think Mercedes is going to be strong in Sector 1. I think Ferrari is going to be really strong in Sector 2, and overall throughout the track, Red Bull will take, I think, the sectors. But I do think Sector 1 will be pretty strong for that Mercedes car due to the downforce, and hopefully they don't have a bouncing issue here, because that can be a big problem and pretty much fatal for the cars if they do hit into the walls. And if they do kind of lose that momentum, it would be really bad for the rear end, and overall the car is going to go into that wall at a lot of G's. The 3 worst teams, I think Alpine is going to continue that trend of being the worst team on the grid currently. I do think Sauber is going to struggle here, mainly because the downforce package was still lacking, and I think Williams is still trying to figure out their car, so I do think that Williams is still going to be in those top 3 worst teams. I do think they're going to perform better here than they did in Bahrain. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Give me your top 5. I'd love to hear what you guys think, and where's your thought process for this new track? Are you excited for the 2027 one that looks ridiculous? And I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, as always. Please leave a like. We're going to get upgrades later. You know that's coming, so double upload day. You know I'm always providing for you guys. So please leave a like, subscribe, it'd mean the world, and peace.